The Russia-Ukraine War, a long and costly conflict, written by Timothy Snyder. The war in Ukraine began in February 2022 when Russia launched a full-scale invasion. This marked a significant escalation in the long-standing tensions between the two nations, which had been simmering for years. The invasion was a stark reminder of the fragile peace that had existed in the region. This invasion followed years of tension and conflict between the two countries. The roots of this conflict can be traced back to the annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014 and the subsequent war in the Donbas region. These events set the stage for the full-scale invasion that would come 8 years later. Russia's actions were widely condemned by the international community. Leaders from around the world spoke out against the invasion, calling it a blatant violation of international law and an assault on the sovereignty of Ukraine. The United Nations held emergency sessions to address the crisis, and numerous countries issued statements of condemnation. Many countries imposed sanctions on Russia. These sanctions targeted key sectors of the Russian economy, including finance, energy, and defense. The goal was to pressure Russia into withdrawing its forces from Ukraine and to signal that such aggressive actions would not be tolerated. The sanctions had a significant impact on the Russian economy, leading to currency devaluation and economic instability. They also provided military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Countries from around the world sent weapons, ammunition, and other military supplies to help Ukraine defend itself. In addition, humanitarian aid was provided to support the millions of Ukrainians affected by the conflict. This aid included food, medical supplies, and shelter for those displaced by the fighting. Despite diplomatic efforts, the war continues. Numerous attempts at peace talks and negotiations have been made, but a lasting resolution has remained elusive. The complexity of the conflict, with its deep historical roots and geopolitical implications, has made finding common ground difficult. It has caused immense suffering and destruction. Cities have been reduced to rubble and countless lives have been lost. The human toll of the conflict is staggering, with millions of people displaced from their homes and in need of urgent assistance. The images of destroyed buildings and devastated landscapes are a stark reminder of the war's brutality. The conflict has had a profound impact on the global order. It has disrupted international trade, strained diplomatic relations, and led to a realignment of global alliances. The war has also sparked protests and demonstrations around the world as people call for an end to the violence and a return to peace. It has raised concerns about the future of international security. The conflict has highlighted the vulnerabilities in the current global security framework and has prompted discussions about how to prevent similar conflicts in the future. Military analysts and political leaders are debating the best ways to strengthen international security and ensure that such aggression is deterred. The war has been marked by intense fighting and heavy casualties on both sides. The battles have been fierce, with both Ukrainian and Russian forces suffering significant losses. The bravery and resilience of the soldiers on the front lines have been a testament to their commitment to their respective causes. Russian forces have targeted Ukrainian cities. The relentless bombardment has caused widespread destruction and has taken a heavy toll on the civilian population. The use of missiles and artillery has turned once thriving urban areas into war zones. They have used missiles and artillery. These powerful weapons have been employed to devastating effect, causing massive damage and loss of life. The relentless shelling has created a climate of fear and uncertainty for those living in the conflict zones. Ukraine has mounted a strong defense. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, Ukrainian forces have shown remarkable resilience and determination. They have fortified their positions, set up checkpoints, and launched counter-offensives to push back against the invading forces. They have received support from Western allies. NATO and other Western countries have provided training, intelligence, and advanced weaponry to help Ukraine defend itself. This support has been crucial in bolstering Ukraine's defenses and enabling it to withstand the Russian onslaught. The conflict has become a proxy war. It is not just a battle between Russia and Ukraine, but a larger struggle involving global powers. The support provided by Western countries to Ukraine and the backing of Russia by its allies have turned the conflict into a proxy war, reminiscent of the Cold War era. It is a struggle between Russia and the West. The war has highlighted the deep divisions between Russia and Western countries, with each side vying for influence and control. The geopolitical stakes are high, and the outcome of the conflict will have far-reaching implications for the balance of power in the world. This has heightened global tensions. The conflict has exacerbated existing tensions between Russia and the West, leading to a more polarized and volatile international landscape. The world watches with bated breath, hoping for a resolution, but bracing for the possibility of further escalation. The human cost, casualties and displacement. The war in Ukraine has resulted in a devastating loss of life. The conflict has torn apart communities and left a trail of destruction in its wake. Thousands of civilians have been killed, their lives cut short by the violence. The streets, once bustling with life, now bear the scars of war. Many more have been injured, suffering from wounds both visible and invisible. Hospitals are overwhelmed, struggling to provide care to the influx of patients. The true number of casualties is difficult to determine. Amidst the chaos, rescue workers tirelessly search for survivors, hoping to find signs of life. Access to conflict zones is restricted, making it challenging for journalists and aid workers to document the full extent of the devastation. Both sides have been accused of war crimes, with allegations of atrocities committed against civilians. These include indiscriminate attacks on civilians, leaving them with nowhere to hide and no safe place to call home. The United Nations is investigating these allegations, seeking to uncover the truth and hold those responsible accountable. Accountability for these crimes is crucial. Justice must be served to ensure that such atrocities are not repeated. The war has created a massive humanitarian crisis. Long lines for food aid and crowded shelters are now a common sight. Millions of Ukrainians have been displaced from their homes, forced to leave behind everything they know. They have fled to neighboring countries seeking safety and refuge from the ongoing conflict. Others are internally displaced within Ukraine, living in makeshift camps and temporary shelters. The displacement has put a strain on resources, with relief centers struggling to meet the needs of the displaced population. Host countries are struggling to provide for the refugees, their resources stretched thin by the influx of people in need. The humanitarian situation is dire. Malnourished children and elderly individuals are particularly vulnerable, facing harsh conditions and limited access to basic necessities. It requires a coordinated international response. The global community must come together to provide the necessary aid and support to those affected by the conflict. The battle for infrastructure, targeting and resistance. Russia has targeted critical infrastructure in Ukraine. This includes power grids, transportation networks, and communication systems. The goal is to cripple Ukraine's economy and ability to resist. These attacks have caused widespread blackouts. They have disrupted essential services. They have made it difficult for Ukrainians to access basic necessities. Despite these challenges, Ukraine has shown remarkable resilience. They have worked to repair damaged infrastructure. They have received support from international partners. Ukraine has also demonstrated its ability to defend itself. They have used advanced weaponry. They have received training from Western countries. Ukraine's resistance has been a key factor in slowing Russia's advance. Section 4, territorial disputes, key battles and their significance. The war in Ukraine is also a battle for territory. Russia has seized control of Crimea. This happened in 2014. Russia has also supported separatists in eastern Ukraine. The separatists have been fighting Ukrainian forces for years. The current war has intensified these territorial disputes. Key battles have taken place in cities like Kiev, Kharkiv, and Mariupol. These battles have been characterized by heavy fighting. There have been significant casualties on both sides. The outcome of these battles will shape the future of Ukraine. They will determine which side controls key strategic areas. The territorial integrity of Ukraine is at stake. Section 5. Global impact. From foreign fighters to economic warfare. The war in Ukraine has had a profound and far-reaching global impact, affecting not just the immediate region, but countries and economies around the world. One of the most striking aspects of this conflict is the influx of foreign fighters. These individuals are coming from various parts of the globe, joining both sides of the conflict. Volunteers, driven by a myriad of motivations, have traveled to Ukraine in significant numbers. Many of these volunteers are motivated by a deep sense of duty and a desire to fight for what they believe in, whether it be defending democracy or supporting their ideological stance. Some are driven by ideological beliefs, feeling a moral obligation to support one side. Others are seeking the thrill and adventure that comes with being in a war zone. The presence of these foreign fighters adds another layer of complexity to an already intricate and multifaceted conflict, making it even more challenging to resolve. Beyond the battlefield, the war has had significant repercussions on the global economy. Russia, being a major supplier of energy, particularly oil and gas, plays a crucial role in the global energy market. The conflict has led to severe sanctions on Russian oil and gas, disrupting the supply and causing a ripple effect across the globe. As a result, energy prices have soared worldwide, affecting everything from the cost of transportation to heating homes. The war has also caused significant disruptions in global supply chains, with cargo ships stuck at ports and goods unable to reach their destinations. This has led to shortages of essential goods in many countries, impacting daily life and causing economic strain. The economic consequences of the war are being felt around the world, with many countries experiencing downturns and facing the challenge of navigating these turbulent times. International leaders are now grappling with these economic challenges, seeking solutions to mitigate the impact and stabilize their economies. Social unrest has also been on the rise as people protest against the high prices and economic hardships brought about by the conflict. Amidst all this, humanitarian efforts continue, aiming to support those most affected by the war and its economic fallout. The global community is coming together, showing solidarity and support in these challenging times, highlighting the interconnectedness of our world. Section 6. The Information War, Propaganda and Cyber Attacks. The war in Ukraine is not just being fought on the battlefield, it is also being fought in the information space. Both sides are engaged in propaganda. They are trying to shape public opinion. Russia has spread disinformation about the war. They have accused Ukraine of being the aggressor. They have tried to justify their invasion. Cyber attacks have also been a feature of the conflict. Russia has targeted Ukrainian government websites. They have tried to disrupt critical infrastructure. Ukraine has responded with cyber attacks of its own. The information war is a significant aspect of the conflict. It highlights the importance of media literacy and critical thinking. Section 7. The urgency of diplomacy, seeking a peaceful resolution. The war in Ukraine is a tragedy. It has caused immense suffering. It has destabilized the region. It has threatened global security. A peaceful resolution is urgently needed. Diplomatic efforts are crucial. Negotiations between Russia and Ukraine have taken place. They have made little progress. A ceasefire is the first step towards peace. This would allow for humanitarian aid to reach those in need. It would also create space for meaningful negotiations. A lasting peace will require addressing the root causes of the conflict. This includes respecting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity.